watch it, don't miss this weekend.
You are watching WBS TV.
Good evening, viewers. Welcome to the Face of Friday night. Peter Kibazo, and a full table. I have Mary Mutesi. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you. Good evening, viewers.
I'm not sure I've seen you this year on this set.
No, we've met several times.
Okay, elsewhere.
No, here.
And you're going to say these things now.
Which things?
I met elsewhere. I don't know
Where?
what.
And the one that talked to you without my permission is Richard Baguma.
Good evening, viewers. It's nice to be back. Because you see, I greeted somebody one day, and he said, I asked him, have we met? He said, which one, M-E-T or M-A-T-E? And I stopped there.
Okay.
No, that was a corrupted
I'm not sure which
So
one
when
I was
you say
dealing with Mary, but certainly it is the double E-T.
Hey, you people, you might cause me a divorce. Eh?
Charles Romshana, welcome.
The Almighty God is great.
Right, and viewers, I will say that those that are friends of this show on Facebook and my friends on Facebook, the show for this evening started some time back today, and I will read quite a number of your opinions on the subject matter of the show tonight. And my question is very simple to the gentleman and lady here. I don't know, I'm thinking later that I possibly asked a very biased question, but well, I asked it. Would you reduce the number of MPs in the Ugandan parliament? And of course the whys. Why? What formula for either answer? What formula would you use to increase, to reduce? Because there's been talk, there's been discussion. I saw President Museveni when he was doing the tour of Busoga. I think it was at Namaingo, if I'm not wrong, that he told people, is Namaingo in Busoga?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it was there that he said there was a need to split this gigantic space, in spite of previously having said that we didn't need any more districts. This time he's coming through the argument of constituencies. There's been argument back and forth about this. Do you reduce them? Do you increase them? What do you do with the legislature? If you increase numbers of constituencies, and we've dealt with figures before. I saw the figures of the Uganda, what are they called? The guys that did the census, Uganda Bureau of Statistics. And where I live, where Baguma lives, we have exceeded the minimum that should make a singular constituency. Kira should be a constituency of its own, Nangabo should be, because of the population numbers, by a certain figure. But where do I start? Richard?
Yes.
Would you reduce? Would you increase? Why? And using what formulas?
The reasonable and serious bit. This thing is a way of keeping people in work,
Employed.
earning. So what do you do for all these ladies and gentlemen who think they are very, very powerful and they need to keep surviving off public funds? That's what they know. A lot of us really know about surviving off. So I can tell you that if you retained the title honorable, but turned the job of a member of parliament into a volunteer job, you will have no people coming. Even if you reduce the emoluments and also the influence on civil servants, because you see, this power over civil servants, rattling them in parliament, makes some of these indirectly soften the ground, giving people or companies related to them work, sometimes giving them direct money. So if you are going to reduce this, if you are making a decision and you are the president, and there is a context of remaining in power for the next election. Where do you put these people? You might have a challenge. The second thing is
Come again on the last one.
The population is not growing small. So if representation is against population numbers, then what do you base on to do a reduction? You can raise questions about representation of special interest groups. You might have questions there. I was looking at a young man here who apparently would like to also be a member of parliament representing youth from one of the regions. I was trying to recall, when I was a youth, but were there youth members of parliament? I don't remember very well. Did they really matter to me, represent me? I don't know. Would you say that affirmative action, which is the basis for the woman's seat, would you say you have achieved the level of affirmation for the women folk that you are looking for? Because this is the basis. So for me, the reduction, the increase or maintenance of numbers would be for what reason? The lumping of members of parliament, the representations, the issues that create these constituencies are not the same. And I think they need to be assessed on their own merit. That's why I said a lot of times you'll hear my colleagues talk about the cost on the public administration cost, the cost on the economy. So therefore, would we be talking about reduction of numbers, or do we just talk about reduction of pay and privileges? One of the generals is reported to have said in the mass media.
Richard, what effectively you're saying is you're looking at reduction. But for you, the reduction is not in terms of human bodies. For you, the reduction is in the impact on the economy.
No, I am going to repeat the statement that I said. I said, if you are going to reduce, increase, or maintain the numbers, what is your basis? Because I think the question lumps all kind of representation of members of parliament together. And yet I'm trying to say there are special interest groups, there are affirmative action, there are population numbers, there, and some of the arguments for reduction are just economic. So do we completely throw out the political questions? Do we throw out the representation of people with disabilities, for instance? I mean, these are dynamics that we must assess on their own merit and not a lump sum prescription of a solution.
Mary?
Yes, please.
I know we've had this discussion elsewhere.
Yes.
Let me hear your gut.
Well, to me, I think the problem of Uganda vis-a-vis the parliament is not per se in numbers, but the problem is more so in quality. The quality of members that we have. And to me, at this point in time, I would rather instead advocate for more stringent procedure requirements being put down for us to have a more qualitable parliament. Because there are many issues. These are my own reflections about this parliament and the legislature. Issues of age limit. We've had so many arguments and very verified arguments. People saying, what would a 19-year be doing in parliament? So the problem is not per se the number.
Depends on whether they are lady or male.
Lady or male, or whatever it is.
The lady would change.
But,
or transgender.
Or transgender. So age limit, qualifications, experience. Really, these are issues that even come up even amongst the legislators themselves. And you find them in their private time telling you, you know what, if I had any way to propose something, I would propose that somebody shouldn't enter parliament before they are 40 or 45 because they are a burden to us. Because when you look at even the qualitable debate, the output out there when they are in parliament, it's really wanting. So the question of quality comes in here. Baguma speaks is something to do with emoluments, but also he brings something to do with affirmative seats, affirmative action. And he poses a question and asks if, for example, the women representatives, the women constituents, have they served a purpose? To me, I think along the way, as women, we lost our agenda and we lost the focus. The last time I had the real affirmative action and affirmative constituency making a contribution in parliament that is within the line of their being there was in 2006. I mean, those were the times of the Miriam Matembes, the Kadagas, when they were still in the low profile positions, the Nankabirwas. But these years from 2006 to date, they are totally disoriented, not focused at all, because you saw even what happened. Let me just finish this. You saw what happened when the so-called miniskirt law came up. The so-called women representatives there, who were there practically for the women constituency, they woke up on the day when it was passed and they didn't know even what was passed. They were speaking of something else that they perceived had been passed, and yet the real law on paper that had been passed was different. So that means that along the way, the women movement lost focus, and the people who are there in the affirmative seats, they don't appreciate the real calling upon their lives, why they are there, and what they are supposed to do.
Mary, do you think in any way the number in parliament, sometimes I call it a crowd, diminishes the quality?
Well, it's another thing to speak of quantity versus quality, but I believe out of quantity we get quality, and out of quality we can get a very good quantity. But what's happening with our legislature today, I'm not speaking Greek, but that is it. That is the equation. Out of quantity you can get quality. Just remember your days, when you are growing wheat or millet. When you sieve a big quantity of millet, you get good quality of millet. And also when it is much more, you throw the chaff out. So what we are having today is that we have quantity,
you think that we have
yet
a problem
very
with the
less.
sieve?
Pardon?
You think we have a problem with the sieve?
Yes, we have a problem with the sieve. That's why, to me, my debate, I take it to the age limit, the qualifications, the experience. Because there are people who have spent 10 years in parliament who even don't know the procedure on the floor.
You're not being fair on them.
They meet you and tell you to be sincere. I don't know what those people talk about. And when I see them rise up, they raise issues, and I'm like, are they mad people? What are they speaking about? So they confess. They confess.
Chaz, I'm going to a bit of the framer's mind, and I decided today, excuse me, to listen quite a bit. I've had Richard, and I'll tell you that there are two Richards that I have. I have a Richard on the table, and I have a Richard we had a good banter with before the show, and they are totally different. The one I had a good banter with before the show spoke in Hindi. The one on the show is speaking Gujarati. And I'll leave it at
comes
that.
in and speaks Greek.
Yes. Chaz,
It's the linguistic
you sat in the CA. And Mutesi challenges number one age. I've had problems with that as well. And sometimes I thought I'm not a Democrat. Because democracy, open it up, let the people decide. But would you reduce the size of parliament? Why? Why not? What formulas would you use?
When we were in the Constituent Assembly, we had that problem of our history, characterized by instability, characterized by...
Say the right word. You suffered from a trauma.
That's how we have childishly looked at it. In fact, it was a little bit more serious. Because I was young, I just come out of college, so I was more or less like actually a student. Seeing the late Kachama, Bakamanda Kachama, those fellows were talking passionately about some of these issues, how state institutions were abused by politicians. But remember, this parliament would make a president. In other words, the party that had the majority seats in the parliament would have a president.
True.
We did not have a presidential system that we had. So for us, we got a hybrid. We made a hybrid, both parliamentary and presidential system. All of them get mandate from the population. And we even entrenched it at LOC, at local government level, decentralization. That chairman LOC3 and chairman LOC5 get mandate directly from the population. But that's besides the point. We tried to reduce the powers of the president to protect the president, protect the population, the country against the president. One, we limited the terms of the president. And we said, okay, but assuming the future wanted to change it, who will? Because we will not have a constituent assembly again. Parliament will. We said, if the president is beyond this age, is not qualified. If someone is beyond this age, is not qualified. But then if it was to be changed, who would? We still trusted the parliament. The president can make a budget, but he's not allowed to spend unless parliament has approved it. So we still trusted the parliament. Look at the decentralization, look at all aspects of life here. We use the parliament as a check, including, by the way, approval of appointments of the president. President is free to appoint, but those appointments must be approved by parliament. So parliament, and we even gave parliament powers to change ministers whom they don't appoint, and also gave parliament powers to dismiss a president. So we looked at the parliament to be the vehicle of the population because power had been given back to the population. That was our dream. But what parliament was created? Hollow, empty. So you gave parliament a lot of power and it sold all this.
Why?
Yeah, and basically the problem is that first and foremost you have now the issue of whipping, the most current one. That if you are a member of parliament for a
Sometimes I want to use the word clubbing, not whipping. You see, a whip is softer than a club.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think they've been
now
clubbed.
we can say battering.
You make it worse than me.
Yeah, so if you are a member, if Kibazo is a member of parliament of Ntinda, representing the people of Ntinda, when you reach there, Ntinda is now secondary. What is primary is that group that you belong to. And you saw what happened with Sechkubo and Sechkubo Nwagaba, I think, and Think Assembly. They were almost thrown out of parliament because they stood their ground as legislators. And now, the court that they are supposed to supervise, their fate lies in the hands of the courts that they ought to supervise. You get the problem. That's why we had even given the parliament powers to even determine their emoluments. Because we thought that they were going to be the cogwheel on which society would rotate, they would be the anchors of society, but you have a different group. Reason that there is no civic education. Madam Mutes is right. If you ask those members of parliament whether they actually know their functions, most of them don't. Because those that came later are businessmen. There is money, 20 million shillings to make every month. The only requirement you have to do is only to sign. So what they look at now is how much do you spend to become a member of parliament. The only problem they have is that society has become as fraudulent as they are, and it's now the cost is very astronomical. 500 million shillings plus now to be a member of parliament. And that's why I think Changwans, they are passing a resolution to ban fundraisings because they found themselves having put themselves into the... So there is a problem of civic education. The voter doesn't even know the functions of a member of parliament. He doesn't even know why he votes a member of parliament. He thinks a member of parliament is a community liaison officer. So you give members of parliament vehicles to facilitate them to consult. They instead buy ambulances. That's not their work. Actually, the most outstanding members of parliament, whom we would say, whom the population says have made a contribution, are those who who use the money to purchase vehicles to do work of representation and bought ambulances. Yes, and so if a member of parliament goes to the village, the first person to hijack him is the church. The church goes to the trading center, buys the coke, and says, you see, someone has given this coke to God, and therefore the pastor auction it, and you find the coke costing $1 million. So you need that. You need to so do MPs appreciate their roles? Does the population appreciate their roles, and they don't. So now Parliament is an eating channel. You who is standing for Parliament, you are looking at eating. Your family is looking at eating. Your tribe is looking at eating. Your sub-county, because you find the sub-county say, no, this one comes from our sub-county. Others, it's even religion. Muslimu Afe is our Catholic, is our Protestant, is our born again, from our born again church. So, therefore, if you are talking about representation, because what you are discussing in terms of numbers is representation. Is this Parliament for representation? It is not for representation. The voter does not matter. The voter is for 500 shillings. So the moment, not until you have raised the civic consciousness, the civic awareness of the masses, to know that these are their channels of representation. Because like this talk show, someone will spend his own money to call him if he has an issue that is burning. But who is going to look for a member of Parliament to present a view? Instead, they go to members of Parliament. So if I remember Parliament saying, I'm the one who is going to bring a road, you bring a road from what budget? Do you have money? This bridge, I will make it. And I saw one of my was stuck. As Prime Minister, he couldn't even work on a bridge because he has no money.
I'll hold you there, Charles. And I'll read you a bit of feedback. I said very unusually because this debate I threw on Facebook about 2 hours ago, and I've received quite some feedback. Ben on Twinamasiko says, I would leave the numbers of MPs as they are and slash their salary by half. So I reduce the tooth and nail fight to engage in campaigning. So for him, he would reduce the resources at their exposure.
Well, that's the punishment.
And possibly then those that come to trade would say it is not good business.
No, there is something.
That is one. Let me read all of them. This one, Muyomba says, yes, most of them are there to sleep and enjoy the furniture of Parliament without engaging themselves in development debate. So you need to cut the number. Someone says, I think we need to reduce Parliament, but also deal with the issue of the cabinet. The cabinet is as well a crowd, so you need to reduce them at the same time. That is Nakitende. Every district, one MP, whether woman or man, it doesn't matter. Because you have one medical officer per district, you have one radiographer per district, one dentist per district. What is special about representation that you don't need one? I would scrap women MPs in the 21st century. All special groups should go. Women can compete with everyone. That is Ahmed Kal. Sentamu, why? Why not? I would reduce it to reduce the burden on the taxpayers. And he goes into a bit of math. Let 2 MPs for each district. 1 male, 1 female. That's it. Do it against the number of districts. You would have a decent number. No, I wouldn't reduce the number of MPs. I would reduce the powers of setting their own salary, and then it would be less lucrative to be there unless you're really coming for public service. Viewers, I take a break at this.
Health Center Point Services tuli bakugu mu kujjanjaba endwadde ez'enjawulo nga tukosa eddagala erijjanjabira mu byokulya. Tulina ebyuma ebikebera buli kitundu kya mubiri gwo era nga biva Bungereza n'Amerika. Tujjanjaba endwadde ez'enjawulo nga sukaali, sickle cells, ania, abagwa ensimbu, pressure, cancer, abalwadde b'ensigo, abakyala n'abaami abatazaala, abaluma omugongo, okusannyalala, abaami abanafu mu nsonga z'amaka, abalwadde b'ekibumba n'endala nnyingi. Zange Kulandan Chambers, Wilson Street, okuliraana Pioneer Mall, room 14 ne 15. Tukubire ku ssimu okumanya ebisingawo.
Stop chasing bonuses that don't last. Bonga Forever Ever from Uganda Telecom never expires and gives you up to 100% guaranteed bonus every time you load airtime. Simply dial *100#, select Bonga Forever Ever, and talk and text all networks with the bonus that lasts. Get Bonga Forever Ever from Uganda Telecom.
Uganda Telecom, Uganda's most affordable telecom service.
Friday night, the face of Peter Kibazo, Mary Mutesi, Richard Baguma, and Charles Vomshana. We are talking the quality of the legislature. A bit of feedback from Morrison Rwakakamba. Morrison was unable to be here this evening, but Morrison says he's done a bit of maths on this. And he thinks that there was a time when you needed a large political assembly for purely political massaging as people were getting over the past, as it were. But he says right now we need to rethink. Unfortunately, the people that are supposed to rethink and amend is the legislature itself. He says we need to rethink. And his formula is use per capita representation. And we bantered about India. He says if we used the Indian model today in Uganda, you would only have 50 members of parliament in Uganda. Then he goes on and breaks down the figures and says currently, if he was allowed, because we are still using the 1962-63 number of a constituency at least 70,000 people. That is 1963. That is what it was at. So today in Uganda, if you're 70,000, you deserve a constituency. If you're 140,000, then you have two. And he says, let's move that.
But there is a base. The base is the county.
Yes. He says we should move representation to per capita. Make representation be per capita representation. For every, let's say, 200,000 people, you have a member of parliament. And he says that...
How about the minorities that are below 200?
Well, we can deal with that. I'm giving you his opinion. He says that would reduce the current size of parliament to about 160, 170, which would save you annually another excess of 100 billion spent on that house. Richard? That is from the economics, mathematics.
Yeah, and I said, you see, I have had arguments from my colleagues, and I've already said I'm unconvinced that having the parliament anyway, a general was addressing them and told them that the democracy, this was what was quoted in the paper, that actually democracy is affecting implementation of programs. So you see, the decision on the numbers of parliament, for me, on who goes to parliament, what qualifications, what qualifications is not the right word I'm looking for, what conditions should be assessed on each case's merit. The fact that, for example, if for purposes of discussion, I was to agree with Mutesi that the women who are in parliament now are not doing what they were supposed to do, should therefore the issue of affirmative action, should we therefore terminate that? And those are the questions I want to ask. If we have the largest population of this country being the youth, should we therefore increase the number of youth representatives, or should we just reduce them? I mean, for me, the argument, the decisions should be based on assessing the issues on their own merit. Have the representation of people with disabilities in parliament, has it improved the
quality of life?
Has it improved the programming for them? Has it improved the investment in them? Has it improved the legislation that relates to them? I mean, for me, those are the issues that we should be asking.
Richard, let me
draw another example. Yes.
Because what you're saying is very important, and I need to understand. Has it or hasn't it? Is it because of the quality of what you have in parliament? Is it because of the absence of space? Because the other day I was talking to a member of parliament and they told me At the plenary, at the moment, at most, you will only manage 2 minutes. In a committee, depending on how dominant your chair is, you may never even find space to open your mouth and how knowledgeable you are. And I'm thinking, okay, is the absence of impact because of inability to lobby? Is it because of the crowd, therefore you are lost in the crowd? Is it because of want of quality of what you've sent there, like Mary was asking questions about quality? Or is it that the grand concept itself, the Charleses, failed in the formula?
I think it's a...
Or is it all of them?
Yeah, I wanted to say that I think it's a bit of each of those factors you're bringing. Let me give you one. Let me ask one question.
You see, you sound like the student that was given a mathematical question and said Jesus is the answer.
No, but I think I think there are several factors that explain, and you have articulated several of them. I think it's a bit of that. But two things. And I'm asking you a question. If we had a president that was others described as a buffoon, for instance, does that mean, therefore, we abolish the post of president? I mean, because you hear some of those arguments like that. The other thing is, there is a bill that I have special interest in because I'm a health communicator. It's the Tobacco Control Bill. The Tobacco Control Bill was sent by Parliament to the Committee of Health. It's chaired by a doctor. There are many doctors on it. The committee has stayed with the bill for 9 months. And they are not about to release it. And there has been support.
I thought you were going to say 9 years.
No, and there has been support for this. Now, what for me surprised me was you would expect that these people with this health expertise would understand the importance to public health of this law and it would be non-controversial. But there are allegations, for instance, that the industry, which is a very powerful and rich industry, has convinced some of them, whatever the means they have used, to shelve this. So that's why I'm saying it's part of each. You cannot say it's just that one factor. If it's a factor of quality, it's a factor of compromise. It's a factor that the designers assumed that everything would be like in a seminary. They were very Catholic in their assumptions, and they misread the political situation. You also have to recognize that the ones who hold the power have understood the importance that this institution called Parliament and the individuals in there can have on their hold on power, and therefore have worked hard to manage them. So you can't take all these factors away from them. And for me, I think whether you have a small group or a big group, as long as these circumstances obtain, you still have these questions about delivery of Parliament.
Mary?
Yes.
Listening to the gentleman here,
Yes.
I'm seeing another argument here from Kabandana. Kabandana says, Kibazo, actually we need to move from an over-centralized situation, reduce the parliament at the center, empower regional governments with a minimal ability, create a senate and parliaments at regions, fuse districts into regional assemblies, and do away with all this bill, because that is where we need. Unfortunately, your message breaks at that.
Yeah, but we get it. Before I actually tackle Kabandana's opinion, let me just make something very clear about affirmative action. I think also somebody called Karl Ahmed on your Facebook also commented on it, and he says, scrap the special interest groups, women, youths, and all that. And also Baguma comes in and says, yes, if they've not performed, should we scrap them? The issue here is not to scrap, because they have a purpose they serve. But my argument, why I brought it up, is that the representatives were not ushered into, they were not mentored into the kind of constituencies they are representing. That means that even issues pertaining to the constituencies that they represent, they don't appreciate them. I mean, look at the times of the Winnie Byanyimaz, look at the times of the Betty Bigombes and the Maria Matembes, you know. Yes, so these were people who had actually passion for issues to do with women, passion for anything to do with gender issues, and the debate was qualitable at that level. They even went out to add on more education in gender studies and all that, and they really appreciated the constituency they were representing. At this moment in time,
representing women.
Yeah. Yes, she wasn't. But I mean, at her time, when she spoke of issues to do with women, you would appreciate.
And she didn't need to be one of them.
So my whole point is, can we have representatives who appreciate their constituencies? Even youth MPs, somebody must have a very good grasp of issues pertaining to the youth constituents, to the disability constituents, and to all those in special interest groups. So the issue is not to scrap them, but to make sure that we panel beat the conditions as you speak about them, or the procedural requirements for one to get into that. Then the other thing that is also spoken about by Peter and Richard is about a chance of contribution in Parliament. Yes, it could be true that the time given to every member of Parliament on the floor of Parliament for contribution is less.
It could be
even in the background in the committees. But we've seen some of these programs being aired on TVs. The truth is, you never see anyone who has risen up on any point, either procedural point or point of order, who has not been chosen, but you see the same faces, those who have a grasp, a proper grasp of issues that are being discussed. Those are the people who keep on raising. And I want to challenge one member of Parliament who should come up and say, I've stood this number of times on the floor of Parliament and the Speaker has not given me chance.
But Mary, Mary, you raised something interesting. Hold there.
Yes.
You raised something very interesting here. You're saying that those that have a grasp or a grip of issues are the ones that rise. And that is where Charles was at, and saying that the population, where is the population as well? Does the population want, and I'm going to use my friend Medad may not be angered by this, does the population want a Medad Segona that attends Parliament religiously, contributes on the floor of Parliament, makes guidance on matters legal? Or does it want a member of Parliament like one of my Mukono MPs, a gentleman, who did this? And I'll use Bakaluba, and I'm sure Reverend is my friend. When Reverend was MP for Mukono North, he said, no, the people of Mukono do not care about Parliament. They care about the quality of their roads. They care about access to schools. The man bought graders. He went and built schools for them. And he was offering a service.
Want to vote?
I don't know. But you are panning too.
Yes.
I'll tell you, the people of Busiro say Medad in Luganda, Takoze. The people where Bakaluba served and took graders said he was a helver of an MP.
The answer
where is the
is
role of this population?
and spot on. On both sides, they need civic education. A member of Parliament must understand their role, their responsibilities, their mandate. And the population also should be educated. Because what happens out there at the grassroots... But
you're talking about a population that leaves the late Professor Sente Zakajubi and says, Sente Zakajubi, he's arrogant, he's from Makerere, and then votes a country drunkard and say, this one will drink with him.
Somebody rightly said it, that a representative is only a picture of what... his people are. But when these people are educated, when they are actually sensitized, they can appreciate that it's not about who dances more at Marwa Ports, who sips Marwa with you.
Don't reduce them to Marwa.
This is what goes on, real life on the grassroots.
That's the terminology of Charles Rumshana Marwa Group.
You know?
Get to the other one that the last fellow that sent a message.
Kabandana. Kabandana, I even seem to forget what he raised. Kabandana, your Kabandana on Facebook. I seem to...
Okay.
Now,
Charles
Roshana is about to tell me.
Charles, you've listened to Mary and you've listened to...
No. It can't be worse.
Rumshana can talk about the Marwa
But you can speak about Kabandana.
About the Marwa
Mary thinks
characteristics.
the problem we have is a quality problem. And she thinks we need to do quality control.
No, those people
Quality
in
control may be a sieve or whichever.
No, in that house, you have Dr. Wakana Rugunda. Really, he's very seasoned. You are talking about youths and who have not contributed prior because of some one or two problems.
No, I'm told you one actually puts in earphones when Parliament is going on.
How about Honorable Muganwa Kajura? He's been there for all the times I've known about NRM's democracy. Do you remember any statement he made? Any statement
he observes
from Muganwa Kajura that has captivated you? Any? Give me any. But he's been there. At least he should have now learned procedure of Parliament.
No, he knows the procedure. He just can't captivate.
And there are very many. There are very many in that house. So now let's even go to this General Sare you talked about.
But Charles, I think also age limit does not only stop at youths, but also at
it
that
should be
level.
the lower and upper ceiling.
And the upper
If you're
ceiling.
talking about experience, someone has been there for some good time. Would be having a lot of guidance from this because the Obangamoy, the late Obangamoy, Odoko Nekion, these were not children. And
I still miss Ekule Park.
Ekule Park, Dr. Ekule Park, they contributed because you see they were passionate about their areas. The Ekule Parks of this world, the Bangamoy, they were passionate about the population.
The Changmachos.
They were passionate about the population. These ones, the population is secondary. General Sare,
but what population are you talking about? Because the cost of the population...
You and I.
You see, Charles, unfortunately, the you and I's are not among the voters that we consider because we don't even vote.
No, what I'm saying,
then the real population that I'm talking about, the guys that deliver these people to Parliament, the quote-unquote my people, come at a price. They come at Kuzika, they come at Bitano, they come for a bar of soap.
Before you even look at the injuries they have, the inefficiencies within them, look at the exterior factor, i.e. denying them civic education. But civic education is the responsibility of the Electoral Commission, largely. The other vehicle is the one who is contesting. Now, they only allow one group to access them, and that's the ruling party. If you are from the opposition, you access them at a big cost. The other civic education that is available is like these platforms. How many have access? By the way, even how many have access to newspapers? So the population in the villages that spend most of their time in the gardens do not have access to civic education. And by the way, sincerely, they don't know some of these issues. Now let's look at this group that met in Chankwans. Really, and you have General Sale teaching Muganwa Kajura on wealth creation. You have, yes.
But I'm actually surprised that you have not talked about the fight over bed.
But Charles, every leader
the
is
fight
a learner.
over bed.
No, but you see, that's the quality of leadership.
Also taking notes
Yes.
from General Sare on wealth creation.
Yes, every leader is a learner, and
break.
once you stop learning, then you stop leading. Charles.
This is the Minister of Finance, Honorable Maria, also take notes and learn
Yes.
from General Sare on wealth creation.
It's okay to learn as a leader.
These graduates of Ruweru, what do they know? The only
He's
thing that-
created wealth.
Which wealth?
He has impacted on the lives of people.
Tell me which building of his is standing here in the city.
No, you don't have to have building.
no,
You can
you
create
don't-
wealth.
Wealth is not about
You can change
buildings in the
people's lives.
city, Charles.
What's wrong
No,
with
I'm
you?
not.
Why
I'm
you
just
worried?
saying
Why you
wealth is not about buildings in the city.
Because you didn't understand me. That if you're talking about teaching, these are policy makers. Some of them have even been around much longer than General Sare. To some of these is even a toddler. But to say that they now sit to listen to him means that General Sare is the former vice president and on microfinance. Just a unit of the one who was the former vice president is now managing microfinance. And you think she has gone there to create wealth? No, she has gone there to eat. So
But
it's all
Charles,
about. It's all
you
about
mean all the older people?
Relax.
You mean all the older people should not be watching
Charles,
us? You mean professors should not be watching us and listening to us?
also listen.
I think our opinions should also be respected, even by professors.
I'm going to the break.
Charles is saying we should not be listened to.
You will be able to turn into the show today.
Charles.
Win a dinner for two this Valentine's from DSTV and GoTV. To celebrate your love, neda. Renew your DSTV family or access, or renew your GoTV Plus or GoTV monthly subscription from 5th to 13th Feb and stand a chance to enter a daily draw where 4 couples will win from 8th to 13th Feb. Renew your subscription through mobile money, easy money, payway, multi-choice partner banks and outlets.
This weekend on WBS TV.
This weekend on the National School Quiz Challenge Season 2, don't miss College of Wood Council SS Gayaza up against Seroma Christian High School. The wire inside an electric bulb is known as the filament. Correct. What kind of eclipse do we have when the moon is between the sun and the earth?
Solar eclipse.
Correct. The answer is solar eclipse. Earth is located in which galaxy?
Pass.
The Milky Way galaxy.
A bonus mark for Seroma Christian High School for that answer. The answer is the Milky Way galaxy. What does C represent in the equation E equals mc star 2?
Speed of light.
The answer is speed of light. Don't miss this weekend as I take you through their challenge. It was a tough battle and it is a tough battle. You're going to watch it. Don't miss this weekend.
Welcome back. It is the face of Friday night. Peter Kibazo and the team. Charles Romshana, Richard Baguma, and Mary Mutesi. And you viewer, you're able to join us. I'll take as many calls as my time will allow, so I get a bit of feedback.
So I was saying.
Yes, carry on.
When the president came in after the 1995 Constitution, Parliament had been given a lot of power, and the president was looking at how to tame Parliament. So the process has been to kill Parliament, destroy Parliament from within and in the exterior, i.e., derink it from the population, and at the same time, demobilize this Parliament, which has been done through the caucus, to mention about a few. Now, there is no democracy in Parliament. What you have there is stock exchange. You have what do you have to sell? So, like today, you come up and you say, I'm Purama Mbabazi, and your account has 600 million shillings. But Parliament has taken decisions. For instance, like on the health workers, to raise their salaries. Parliament took a decision, we are not going to pass this budget. What happened? They were forced to withdraw it. You remember the decision they took on tax on fuel and agricultural products. The president ordered them. And yet we had given Parliament powers that if the president refuses to sign a bill, it's returned and it's returned, then it passes.
Charles, I have an interesting feedback here from one of the listeners.
And final, as he comes in.
Let me read this. This is Mufumba Paul. He says, Peter, thanks for the show, but a large parliament is okay for as long as you have a country without jobs. I would rather see this parliament grow in numbers so that we increase jobs. And this is the same argument for the districts. Make it lucrative, expand it, go and create district assemblies, expand them. This is job creation.
So Parliament passes a resolution but that should ordinarily bind the government, and the decision here from government, the pronounced here from government, these resolutions are not binding. They are merely advisory. And you see, this is why you now have a paradox, where you have a real crisis, a real contradiction.
Hold, I'll take this caller. Hello? Hello? Present, absent.
Hello.
Hello? Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, your name, question or comment?
name is Dan from Soroti.
Yes, Dan, how is Soroti?
Soroti.
Yes, please shoot. I should have cut you off because you're very slow, but because you're from Soroti, I'll allow you to go on.
Yes. No, what Charles is saying that there is no need to listen from General Saleh. He's actually saying that even now, the more educated than him should not listen to him.
Precisely.
Thank you.
Because what happened?
Okay, I'll take the next call. Hello. Hello. Okay, Charles. Briefly, very briefly.
Yes, so why you have a crisis is that if the Auditor General makes a report.
Hello.
Now.
Yes, good evening. Please be very fast.
My name is I'm calling for dinner. I think the big point I'm seeing here, this NMP and cutting their numbers is not a point. But initially, for one to become an MP should be very, very rich, but is not eyeing at this little money they are giving them. Now there are very many
I would never be a member of parliament.
That's just a number, it's not a point. But they should trim their powers and reduce. But they are giving them a lot of money at the expense of taxpayers. And let them reduce the money. Then we move off.
Thank you.
Because I don't see why we should suffer.
Thank you. The last caller. Hello? Okay.
Yeah, so the Auditor General's reports are for Parliament. These reports.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Yes, this is Ivan calling from Mukono.
Yes, how's Mukono, Ivan?
I'm okay. Thanks for the show.
Welcome.
Yeah, but I wanted to say something about Honorable Umshana. He's always the prophet of doom for Uganda. Ever since this parliament came into power, we've been getting services and the jobs are not available and people are getting employed, services are coming nearer. So there is no cause of alarm. Let's not scare the population as if it's a big issue that we have a big parliament. It can be there, and we are only interested in services. If they are coming, then that's all the population wants. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much, callers. I'll come to the table, give everyone 3 minutes.
They asked Amin whether there was sugar in Uganda. He says there is a lot of sugar. You visit me in a house and you see. when you hear someone say they should not scare the population, they should not alarm the population, it tells you whom he is. It tells you.
Okay, actually, Chaz, you can do only 1.5 minutes.
It tells you. So the Auditor General's reports are for Parliament. Parliament is in charge of monitoring the accountability of the executive. So if Parliament was able to stop corruption because it has that mandate, then you would have jobs created. The problem is that the outflows are not facilitating job creation. They are only facilitating luxury. You go and scan most of these people, their children are in international schools.
Which is not a crime.
It's not a crime, but it's not within our priority. In other words, if we had spent this money to improve our own systems, their children would be here. They would be having Medicare from Murabo. So you have outflows that do not facilitate the consumption that does not create jobs, and that's basically the problem. But I don't think I'm a prophet of doom. I mean I'm showing you the situation.
Do you think the situation would improve, or would you cut the numbers?
I mean, you have to first get the essence. The most important point is
and do you think we can
parliament,
arrive at that?
This parliament is irrelevant.
Do you think we can arrive at a point where we can have a sensible, reasonable, measurable, tangible, palpable parliament?
Yeah, if we did, yes, then we would think about representation. If we got the purpose for this parliament, but in actual times we don't have the purpose. So in other words, it can as well be deleted.
Mary, the 1 and so minute that you have, would you do a per capita representation?
Well, that is according to the calculation of Rakakamba, who has done very good research about that. But let me just mention two things. One,
no, you haven't told me, would you or wouldn't you?
Precisely, I'm saying I've not done enough research on that. So,
Mary, I know you are interested in the constituency in Kamuli, and the reduction in numbers would affect you.
Well, it might actually not affect.
Now, two things. One, one of the people who has refused to buy the argument that people are in parliament because of lack of jobs. Because if you can get 500 million that you can invest in a constituency for you to go to parliament, that means that you have capacity to create your own job and even create a job of several other people. Then, number two, I also, yes, finally, I disagree with somebody who called in, and I think it was about jobs. But finally, I want to say this, that at the end of the day, we need a legislature. The proposition of the system of governance where we have governors, the senators, it is some kind of copying from the American system. Recently, Kenya started it, but it's also not working so well for them. So the best we can do, let us improve the very system that we have, which has worked for us.
Richard, you're going to do my exit shots, but I'm thinking, if we went to a point where we have proportional representation, where parties sat, I know the Democratic Party attempted.
How would you have independence?
Hold on. Of course you wouldn't. Where in 1980 the Democratic Party sat and said the following criteria would be followed. If Richard Baguma and Peter Kibazo wanted a constituency X, and Richard Baguma was a graduate and Peter Kibazo wasn't, in the point structure, Richard would have scored a better point than Kibazo. If Richard had experience in blah, 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 he would score an extra point. So there was a point system in 1980 from DP. And parties would select their best for the proportional representation and say, okay, this is our team that we present from number 100, 1 to 100. If we get 30%, number 1 to number 30 are into the legislature, and that is the cream de la cream. Do you think that would help?
I actually think that is the diagnosis disorientation. I think this thing of basing one's capability, because I was going to come to that. Somebody says, I am more educated. Are you more educated? Are you more learned? The fact that you have a qualification, a paper qualification higher than me, are you more experienced? Are you more knowledgeable? Because we are talking about knowledge. Do we understand issues better?
You had experience, you had exposure.
Yeah, but you see,
each of them attained a certain point.
You see, if I have been if I've been fighting in Central Africa, in South Sudan, in Ecomog, in what? How do you count that? And those are the things I question. If I have had, yes. Oh.
Richard, you have barely
if I have been working in business and I am at the level of some very huge business people, they haven't a certificate. How do you calculate that? So I think that is, that's why I am saying that there is diagnostic disorientation at the political arena. Two, I want to say that you see, representation is not just about theory, but also about the realities on the ground. That's why some representatives will keep coming back. Not about English. One of your people whom you brought on has been voted the mayor more than once, and he said, don't be confused with the disorder. So I want to say that the representation is not about theory, it's about the realities on the ground. And we must face those realities. Because if we talk about massages, then we have political saunas and political steam baths. And those talk about the very rich. Somebody should, the very rich. What is very rich in Uganda? What is very rich? I see people who have second-hand vehicles have said this, Mivumba, and they say they are rich. Excuse me. But those are the ones who will be voted to represent. And so we must be very careful. We won an election, me and Charles Rwomshana, at a university because of poverty.
No.
Our selling point was poverty. Needed.
Not that you have improved a lot.
I don't think we have. But we won another election in a constituency to go to the CA. And so, but that was the representation.
Our program was about emancipation of the population.
Absolutely. We were representing the people because we talked about the issue that they care about. And so to come and totally castigate MPs for talking about roads and bridges, I think is unfair. Because that is ignoring, I think that is ignoring the realities on the ground.
I have to stand up and let these guys know that we are getting out of here. It's been a pleasure having you here this evening. If I don't get up off the red chair, these guys won't know.
But thank you for putting on a yellow shirt, Kibazo. I thanked you. Let me thank you publicly.
Is in the house intimidating some of
It is a yellow
us.
shirt because tomorrow KCFC is playing its game in Kabole. Why not? Well,